Cruise news time. Well, we got breaking news right here on the Discovery Princess. Casino shutting down early because of a medical emergency, causing a mess, honestly, causing a mess. We also have news coming out of another town that plans to limit cruise ship activities, and one of the most popular islands in the Caribbean, well, they're changing their health protocols in a way that I think will make some people happy. Cruise news. Let's talk about it. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Lido, Loca. I'm your host, Tony, here with the latest cruise news and views for your entertainment and your educational consumption, for your infotainment consumption. It is the 20th of August, a Saturday, and it's about 8 o'clock, 8 p.m., and I am here in British Columbia in Victoria on my very last night of my 2-week Alaskan adventure. And yeah, you're seeing this on the 21st because it's been a little bit of a challenge with the internet, and the challenging internet has forced me to take a few days off, and well, I'm dang rested. I've missed the interaction with you guys, but I've also enjoyed the time to just chill. But I got a lot to tell you about. That's the long and the short of it. Let me hit the big cruise news story first. But I got to tell you what happened to me in Skagway. I got a look at the rock slide area in Skagway. I talked to somebody that was on the town council, the assembly there in Skagway. I also got to tell you about the glacier visit and the day in Juneau, the most expensive excursion I've ever booked. A lot to cover here, but let's talk about the breaking cruise news story. Something that if you're a casino player traveling to Alaska, this is something that you want to pay attention to. Last week when I was on the NCL Encore, it came to Saturday, the night before we returned to Seattle, and we made our way to British Columbia. And if you're like me, what you like to do on the last day of the cruise, which is usually a sea day, is you like to pack your bags, you like to get everything in order, and then you've got a last night ritual of gambling until the wee hours in the morning. At least that's what I like to do. That's what Jenny B likes to do. And the casino's always packed on the last night of the cruise. Well, not so last week because we're in port here in Canada, the casino closed down at 4 p.m. last week on the NCL Encore. And so we knew going into this week that if we wanted to do any last day gambling, we would have to do it earlier in the day. And we got word yesterday that the casino here on the Discovery Princess would be staying open until 5 p.m. Because we weren't set to enter into close enough to Victoria where they would shut the casino down because we weren't set to be here until 7 p.m. Well, when we were in the casino about noon today, an announcement came out and said because of a medical emergency that we were going to hightail it over here to Victoria, and that the casino would be closing at 2 p.m. And so that gave everybody 2 hours and would not be reopening. This is the key thing. It did not reopen after it shut down last week on the NCL Encore. It would not reopen after it closed down at 2 p.m. today here on the Discovery Princess. So that meant if you did not cash out your bank from slot play or turn in all of your chips, you would not have an opportunity to get your money back other than in the form of a check mailed to you in the mail. And so that caused a mad dash on the cashier, and there was a constant line outside the casino for at least an hour as people tried to cash out. Now, I did gamble a little bit in the last hour, and I gambled probably more aggressively than I would because I was looking at that line and I'm like, well, either I'm going to go to that line with a lot of money or I'm not going to get in that line. And I didn't have to get into the cashier line, which it's been a fun week testing the fates. Jenny B had to get in the line because she did well on the slots, but I stood the line for her until we were able to cash out. Neither here nor there, but it took about an hour for them to clear that line because when we got out of there, they called it at 1:45. They didn't even make it to 2 o'clock. At 1:45, there was an announcement saying we've entered into waters. Now we have to shut the casino down. And yeah, so not sure what the medical emergency was, but hopefully everybody is okay. It's certainly understandable that the casino had to close early for a medical emergency. No complaints there, but I just wanted to warn everybody who might like to gamble or might have a level of degeneracy toward gambling like we do, that if your normal expectation is to gamble late into the evening on the last sea day of a cruise, when you go to Alaska, and I didn't experience this last year because we didn't have to go to Canada. We had the exemption to the Passenger Vessel Services Act. I'm not blaming Canada, but the fact that we have to stop in Canada and it's on the last night of the cruise, it shuts the casino down in the early afternoon. So if you're an Alaska-bound gambler and you've never experienced that before, there you go. I'd never heard anybody talk about that before, so that's why I thought it was worth talking about. You definitely will be limited with your gambling on these Alaskan cruises. And it's been weird because we've had the schedule for the casino was weird because we stayed late in some ports. But yeah, so that's cruise news story number 1. Let me swing around and just close the loop on some of the stories that I talked about before I took a few days off. The last time I talked to you guys, I told you about the great day that we were going to have going into the Endicott Arm Fjord and seeing the Dawes Glacier, that we had to get up at 4:30 in the morning, and that we would be approaching the entry to that fjord at like 5:30. Well, when we got to the entry of that fjord, it looked like this. That's right, 0.0 visibility. And so at about 5, I got up at about 4:45. By 5:35, I had on the port, like the forward cam, and the naturals came on and said that we weren't going, and the captain called it. And so that was disappointing, but it did allow us to get into Juneau earlier, and I was excited for that. I was super hyped to get into Juneau because I booked the most expensive and most dangerous, I think, excursion that I'd ever booked. And when we rolled into Juneau, well, the weather was horrible. And they said, look, the weather should clear up by 12 o'clock. Everything should be good. I got off the cruise ship at 12 for a 12:45 meetup. I even met with the people that were going to host the tour at 12:45. And I stood out in the rain, got soaking wet. I don't know what was up with the jacket that I had. It's supposed to be waterproof. I got soaking wet. And then at 12:50, they called it. They said, nope, no cool excursion for you today, Tony B. I know you were super excited. I know you had wonderful weather all last week. Sorry, so sad. No excursion for you. Now, I am going to tell you about that excursion. I'm actually putting together a video of 3 excursions that I've done in Alaska, and I'm going to have the conversation whether those excursions were worth it or not. Just to give you some idea what excursions are like in Alaska, how much they cost, and maybe as a community we can come together and talk about whether it's worth it or not. So I won't go into great detail about the excursion that got canceled, but I will in that video. Stay tuned for the next few days to see what excursions I'm talking about. It's a great opportunity to invite you to subscribe. If you like staying up to date with everything that's going on in cruising, did you miss the hands? Cruising, please consider subscribing with the notification bell on. That way you don't miss out on any of these episodes. Thank you in advance. Still a couple more cruise news stories. We'll weave it all together. We'll weave it like, Rapunzel did Rumpelstiltskin's. Was it Rapunzel? Who was spinning either way? It doesn't matter. Cruise news story number 2. Bar Harbor, Maine has voted to limit cruise ships in their city when the lights go down in the city. I don't think that song was about Bar Harbor. Hold on, let's get the deets. Earlier this week, which is probably last week by now, the town council has decided to put in restrictions against cruise ships because complaints have come that there have been too many passengers in the town of Bar Harbor. The town will work with various cruise lines that use Bar Harbor, and the daily passenger visits will be capped at 3,800 passengers in May, June, September, and October, and then 3,500 passengers in July and August. Monthly caps will be set at 30,000 in May and June, 40,000 in July and August, and 65,000 for the fall foliage months of September and October. Now, this is something that I think has to be voted on, whether the legality is there. So this isn't in place yet. This is just the beginning, just a catalyst, just the start of what could potentially be restrictions in Bar Harbor. On the 24th of September, I will be boarding a Holland America ship in Quebec City, and I will be making a stop in Bar Harbor on that cruise, eventually ending up in Boston. A whole bunch of cities I've never been to before on a cruise line I've never been on before. I'm trust excited. How about that? Me and the lovely Jenny B are going to be making the trip to Canada. Oh, Canada. Excited about that, but it'll be interesting to see if we get boo-hissed in Bar Harbor. I don't think anybody's going to give us a hard time in Bar Harbor, but I'm looking forward to seeing what's going on with the Mainers. All right, let's swing over to Cruise News Story 2.7 Alaska Part B. I did, after the failed day in Juneau, that I was bummed out about that. After the failed day in Juneau, the next day was a stop in Skagway, Alaska, and it was beautiful. It was amazing. We actually tendered because of the rock slides there. You guys know the rock slide issue. Here's some footage of the rock slide area. you can see that it's slidden, that there's trouble there. And fortunately on that day, I actually got to talk to somebody who is on the assembly, and I got more information about that. But let me just tell you about my brief day in Skagway. Kind of went to Skagway with the mindset of a Yukon gold miner. So I was looking for some very specific things in Skagway, and I may have gotten myself in trouble with the beautiful Jenny B, but I was looking for beer, and I was looking for ladies a little bit, not in the way that you're thinking, but I was definitely looking for nuggets in Skagway, and I found them. There'll be a video of that coming out soon. Just another reminder to subscribe, and yeah, this couch is comfortable, let me say that. Slept on this bad boy a couple nights in Skagway, yeah. Skagway was cool. We took a lifeboat to the dock, and so I got some great 360 footage of that. I walked the town. I'm excited to share that with you. But part of my adventure, I ran into somebody that worked in a local business there that's actually on the assembly, and a great person, Reba, had a great conversation with her, and she talked about the challenges for the assembly there when they declared the state of emergency after, it was either the second rock slide, and there was some pushback because of declaring the state of emergency, and then after they declared the state of emergency, there was another rock slide. So one of the interesting things that they still have to figure out in Skagway is after the season is over, what are they going to do about this dock? How are they going to secure it? How are they going to make sure that these rock slides aren't going to injure people and cause damage? So, but it was good. It was good to be in Skagway. It was good to support the local economy, and even if it caused some consternation between me and the Jenny. Look, sometimes you got to play the role of a Yukon nugget miner, and that's what I did. Okay, so that's the aside. Cruise news story number 3, popular Caribbean island drops health protocols or changes health protocols. We're talking about Grand Cayman. They have removed all of their testing and vaccine requirements. This change is effective just a few days from now on August the 24th. It follows the other Caribbean island, St. Kitts. Again, these Caribbean islands, they depend heavily on tourism. And of course, the leadership there, they're balancing out the desire to do tourism with the safety of their people. And so, yeah, St. Kitts have dropped their restrictions. Now Grand Cayman dropping their restrictions. So we're starting to see a more open scenario in the Caribbean. A lot more places will be opened up. Combine that with some of the testing changes that we've seen from the cruise lines. Continues to be a changing landscape, a lot of confusion. I would just highly recommend, if you're cruising right now, check with your cruise line to know exactly what you need as when it comes to testing or vaccine, that kind of thing. But yeah, it's a crazy time. It's a good time in cruising right now. The positive story is that all the changes, even though they're challenging and they're onerous, they are getting us to a place where there are less restrictions. And in the face of the less restriction profile of cruising, we're seeing more and more people book. So the downside of that's going to be that cruising is going to be more expensive soon, because as demand goes up, businesses can charge more for things that are in short supply, right? Scarcity, all that econ stuff. So if you're planning on cruising, you might want to try to book a cruise sooner rather than later, because as more and more people come back to cruising, as capacity opens up, they're going to run out of inventory and prices will shoot up. So yeah, good news for the industry, possibly challenging news for price-conscious consumers. But yeah, another Caribbean island, Grand Cayman, opening up. How about that? It's been a really great couple weeks in Alaska. It was so cool to be with a group of 70 on the NCL Encore, and then it's been really cool to hang out with Jenny. Of course, we've met a lot of new people, and a lot of people have recognized us, which is always, well, it's good for the ego, right? Like I won't be, I won't give you any fake humility. It's really nice to be recognized and to meet new people, and we've got to meet a lot of new people. The staff has been incredible this week. We've got to meet a lot of really cool people that work for Princess, and I just want to highlight this guy that's been incredibly nice to us. One of the F&B managers, Pedro, from Portugal. Pedro and I have had some great conversations this week, and I really appreciate him and some of the insight that he's given me. And yeah, so I take the opportunity where I can, and a big shout out to Pedro. Thank you, buddy, for being you, and thank you for giving us a great week here, along with everybody else, the rest of the crew here on Discovery Princess. Boom! that is your cruise news. Missed you guys. Should be back in the normal flow. We'll be in Seattle tomorrow. Going to spend a couple days in Seattle and then make our way back home to Florida. And then the cruise countdown is short. I think we'll be cruising again in less than 2 weeks. So what is today? The 20th? Maybe 15 days until we cruise again. How about that? Yeah, it's that cruise life, baby, and we're loving it and loving you guys. So thanks so much. Much love to the Loca fam. Thank you for watching the show. If you could, do me a solid and hit the like button. And unfortunately, if you don't hit the like button, I'll be forced to punish you. And your punishment will be this. Well, on your very next cruise, the casino won't open at all. And that may be okay for some of you, but for people who like to gamble, that will be miserable. And for the people that don't go to the casino, well, bingo and trivia and karaoke and everything else will be closed down too. And all you'll be able to do is sit and do crossword puzzles. And I know there's probably 100 people out there that's like, that's fine with me because I love the crossword puzzles. What's 4 letters that means okay? Cool, right? C-O-O-L. How about that? All right. Man, I guess we got to pack. Packing is the worst. All right. Thank you guys so much for checking out the show today. This is Tony for Lido, Loca. And until the next time, as the kids like to say, from British Columbia, we'll see you on the Lido.